Saturday afternoon at the Treasury, which houses the Ministry of Finance, 51-year-old Uhuru Kenyatta, the man in charge of the country's purse, also has his eyes on the country's top job in next year's general election. Though he has not formally launched his bid, Kenyatta believes time is ripe for the younger generation to take the reins of power.
The issue is not whether Uhuru wins or doesn't win. The issue is this agenda of transforming our country. Is that going to continue and move us to the next level of development in this country?
Yule ambaye anaweza kuendesha kupeleka wananchi kama vile mimi ningependelea wananchi kuongozwa ni Uhuru Kenyatta.
Kenyatta made a previous attempt at the presidency in 2002. Then a political greenhorn dubbed the Moi project. He was whitewashed by NAC's Kibaki after a massive walkout by KANU's powermen after Moi anointed him his successor. 10 years later, the Gatundu South MP believes he can be second time lucky.
Well, definitely I've had much more experience. I would say I'm a much more matured politician. And secondly, I think people have also seen that I'm not a person who is necessarily driven by just the sheer fact that I want raw power.
Several recent opinion polls have ranked him second after Prime Minister Raila Odinga in the list of most probable occupants of State House after President Kibaki's departure next year. But what are his chances?
On a scale of 1 to 10, purely on account of the tyranny of numbers, given the co-support he has from the emanation, I would give him a 5. But that is if he runs as a generational candidate. But if he runs as a Kikuyu candidate, then I will drop that to a 3.5.
The new constitution requires a winning presidential candidate to garner more than 50% of all the votes cast and at least 25% of the votes cast in at least 24 counties, failure to which a runoff poll shall be held between the two top presidential candidates. Can Kenyatta make the cut?
The next year election will be a contest between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. My bet is that Uhuru will not win, Raila will lose. And that's probably how Uhuru will become president. And my other bet is that during the first run, Uhuru will lose to Raila. But during the runoff, it is possible that Uhuru will beat Raila. And I say so because Raila is known to make a lot of errors of judgment. And once he wins during the first run, he is likely to cannibalize himself, which he likes to do.
But as he prepares to square it out with other presidential hopefuls, there are several issues that could determine the success of his bid. Key among them, his ethnicity.
The fact that his ethnicity is Kikuyu really brings him down. That's why I'm saying he must commit ethnic suicide and cast himself not as a Kikuyu candidate, but as a generational succession candidate. If he does that, then his chances are going to be brilliant.
I present myself not as a Kikuyu candidate. I present myself as a Kenyan who has a dream and who has a vision for this nation. And that is the way I'd like people to see me.
Kenyatta's critics have often viewed his presidential candidature as an entrenchment of dynasty politics.
My father passed away when I was still a very young man. If it was a question of entitlement, yeah, I would have just been sitting pretty like some people do and say on the basis of my father, I should be this, I should be that, I should be the other. I think I've worked and worked very hard to get to where I am.
Some people will look at him and say he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He doesn't know hard work. Well, as maybe the reverse is true. I'm told that the guy sleeps in the office, working. I don't know whether that's true or not. But when you look at him from the outside, the Kenyatta label makes him look, rightly or not, like a pampered prince.
Kenyatta's presidential bid is endorsed by, among others, the elite business class mainly from the Mount Kenya region, a situation that could entrench the perception that he's a status quo candidate.
What he must do, in my view, is antagonize our wazazi. And that's what Martha Karua did very well. Ruto has done that very well. Uhuru has refused to do that.
The Gatundu South MP is among 6 Kenyans facing serious crimes against humanity allegations at the International Criminal Court. He is accused by the prosecutor of the Hague-based court of planning, financing and orchestrating retaliatory attacks against perceived ODM supporters in Naivasha and Nakuru at the height of the 2007-2008 post-election violence. Can the ICC case against him hamper his presidential ambition?
Yes, it is an unnecessary burden which I believe I am being taken through unfairly and unjustly. But as a believer in the rule of law, I have said I will see it through to the end.
The KANU chairman is part of an emerging political alliance dubbed the G7. It includes, among others, Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and lawmakers William Ruto and Eugene Wamalwa. With each of them eyeing the presidency, what are Kenyatta's chances of flying the alliance's flag in the 2012 contest?
Let us have a way in which we can do free, fair, transparent nominations. Let people through that nomination process pick a candidate. Let us support that candidate who shall be chosen, be it myself or anybody else who is part of that common agenda, that common vision for this country. And then the rest of us can play any other role or even go home.
For G7, the question is, what do you bring in? He's bringing in a whole community. Like it or not, it's called the tyranny of numbers. And the Kikuyus are very many people. Instead of using consensus through dialoguing with people, he'll use consensus through dominance. So he will just dominate the others into supporting him.
Then the financial aspect, that Uhuru Kenyatta and his family have deep pockets, is an open secret. A recent report by the Forbes magazine indicated that his personal fortune is estimated at 47 billion shillings.
If you want to live well, don't just build yourself a house and have it surrounded by slums. Build a house, but then put more effort to ensure that that house is surrounded by many more like it. That way, you will live a good life. I may have my house, but I'm committed to ensure that I have many other houses similar around me in order to ensure that my house survives through the survival of everybody else's. That is my commitment to Kenya, and I will continue to work for that dream in whatever position I hold, in whatever I do going forward.
Uhuru Kenyatta is an alumnus of the prestigious St. Mary's School, Nairobi, and the Amherst College in USA, where he studied economics and political science. Can the father of 3 charm the Kenyan electorate and finish first in what could be a closely contested race to State House next year? The jury is out. Francis Gashuri for the Countdown 2012 series.